What's going on, everybody? Shonen Express here, coming to you with a special delivery. So this video is going to be kind of unlike most of the videos that I usually put out, but I thought that it would be appropriate to, now that we've been in 2021 for some time, I want to go back and take a look at 2020 in Weekly Shonen Jump. I'm going to look at, what series have ended, what series have started, and what are the mainstays in the magazine that are still going strong, and what's my perspective on where the magazine is headed and all of that. So I'm super excited to talk about this and get into this. I plan to do these, like a video like this, probably every year, hopefully closer to when the year actually ends than it is now. It's like mid-February when I'm doing this video, but in the future, I hope to do a year in review videos, more closer to when the new year actually happens. That being said, there are series that have ended in 2021 that I will be, listing in my series have ended part of the video. The reason why is just because I can't ignore the fact that those series are over, and so I can't act like they're not, and, be like, yeah, I have high hopes for this thing that absolutely is over. So I will be mentioning those, although the 4 series that we've got that are new in the magazine in 2021, I won't be mentioning those. We'll save that for next year's video when I talk about them, and we'll have a whole year to kind of look at them at that time. So without, messing around too much, let's get into the video proper here. So I have split this video up into 4 categories, and these categories are different genres of manga. So I have sports manga, comedy manga, what I'm going to call other, which is just manga that are a combination of maybe 2 of the other categories, or they're manga that don't really fit any of the other categories, and of course battle manga, which is, going to make up most of the magazine. So we will start with sports manga, and I gotta say, 2020, not the year if you're a sports manga fan. So in every category, I want to go over what manga have ended, what ones have started, and what are the mainstays, and where do I think this genre is going in the magazine. So for sports manga, it's a pretty short and simple conversation. So the sports manga that have ended this year are Beast Children and Haikyuu. There are no new sports manga as far as 2020 is concerned, and there are no manga that made it in and out of 2020, which means we've only got 2 manga that ended in 2020. So I want to talk about both of these manga, and so we'll start with Haikyuu. So Haikyuu, obviously a super popular sports manga about volleyball, incredibly popular for the magazine, one of the biggest manga running during its run, and it ended this year. Now, I think that the end was good. I don't have any complaints about that. I'm sure eventually I will do a whole package review on Haikyuu, but this manga ending definitely meant a huge shift in the sports manga category for Weekly Shonen Jump. There wasn't really anything to take its place when it ended, and so it kind of left the magazine without a sports manga in general, and that leads us into Beast Children, the other one that ended this year. Beast Children was a sports manga about rugby. Rugby is a really hard sport to make a sports manga about, because I don't think a lot of people know, either in Japan or most of the world, I don't think a lot of people know what rugby is, or the rules of rugby, or how it works, so it was kind of a hard subject material. That being said, I thought it was a really good manga. I'm sure I'll do a return to sender video on Beast Children at some point, but I thought it was a good manga, but it didn't, like, the content, the sport was a little hard to understand. I was excited to kind of learn about it, but we didn't quite get there. It was only 27 chapters long after all, but with these 2 manga ending, it left the sports manga category in Weekly Shonen Jump empty. There were no other sports manga in 2020, and for most of 2021 so far, excluding this week where we finally got one, there hasn't been a sports manga running in the magazine since Haikyuu ended. So in 2020, I would say that the sports manga category is looking a little abysmal and definitely needs some help. Hopefully new manga in 2021 can help, bolster the sports manga repertoire, but with Haikyuu going out, you're not going to get that long running, strong, shonen sports manga that Haikyuu was back for several years, because you got to let something run. You got to let it run and build up and be, as impactful as Haikyuu was. So, without that, I don't think that we're going to get another sports manga as impactful as Haikyuu for several years, but that's kind of where I'm at with sports manga in the magazine. So with that, I want to talk about comedy manga, or gag manga. I usually call them gag manga, so I'm not sure why I labeled this section comedy, but there's much more movement in the comedy, manga department this year than in the sports manga department. So first of all, ending this year in, comedy manga that have ended are Mori King, A Gravity Boys, Mitama Security Spirit Busters, and Yuna and the Haunted Hot Springs. So out of these, I want to address two, and the first one I want to address is Mitama Security Spirit Busters. If you guys haven't read this manga, please go read it. I think it's a very good gag manga. I think it's hilarious. I think the characters are really good. The art style really complements the gags. I really like this manga. I'm sure eventually I'll do a review of Mitama Security at some point, but I just haven't gotten to it yet. But it's a really good manga. I definitely encourage you to go check it out. But with its end, I was very confused. I didn't quite understand why it would end. I thought it was doing well, and I understand that the sales were kind of average or below average even. And so I understand why they cut it, but at the same time, I think that Mitama Security really had the chance to kind of build itself up and take on this mainstay comedy manga position that Shonen Jump is kind of missing at this point. So I wanted to highlight that, and the other one I want to highlight is Yuna and the Haunted Hot Springs. Now, full disclosure, I did not read this manga, so I don't know really anything about it other than the picture that you see on the screen right now. However, I do know that it was long running, that it went for, several chapters. I think it's like 180 something chapters. It was definitely long running, definitely a great manga by the standards of the people who have read it, for sure. And its end definitely signaled a huge shift in the comedy manga department. It's another big mainstay manga that wasn't able to make it, that ended and shifted up the landscape. So I wanted to at least mention it here to say that Yuna and the Haunted Hot Springs ending is definitely something that shifted the landscape of comedy manga in Weekly Shonen Jump, for sure. But we also got a lot of new comedy manga starting, and those are A Gravity Boys, Mori King also started and was new, Me and Roboko, High School Family, and Sakamoto Days. All of those I would consider comedy manga, and they all started in 2020. And so there's two of those that I want to highlight, and the first is High School Family. So I understand that the author of High School Family, the mangaka, has actually done another long-running comedy manga, I believe called Isebai. I haven't read that manga, but it ran for a long time. It was originally supposed to just be a special chapter replacing One Piece, but it ran for quite some time, so it obviously was popular. High School Family has the makings of something that's funny, and I won't lie, there were several times where I have found it kind of funny. But if you watch my weekly newsletters, I don't actually think I've highlighted it ever. I might have once or twice, but I'd be pretty surprised if I had. Most of the time, it's not that funny to me. I don't really love it, and I definitely don't see it being able to continue on and becoming to become a mainstay gag manga in the magazine. I don't think it has the comedy or the visual aspect to do that. Now, could I be wrong? Absolutely, but I just don't think you hit that target dead center twice. You know what I mean? I think Isebai he somehow hit this target blindfolded, but I'm not sure High School Family is going to do it. But the other manga that started, I wanted to talk about, was Me and Roboko. I like Me and Roboko a lot. I think it's super funny. Mainly the characters Matsuo and Gachi Gorilla really make me laugh. If you watch my weekly newsletter, you've definitely seen me highlight it at least once or twice. I like the comedy in this manga, especially when certain characters are involved. However, I will say, I'll be honest, I don't think that Me and Roboko has the longevity to be able to become one of these long-running staple comedy manga series that Weekly Shonen Jump is looking for. I don't see that as a possibility, and so, I don't think it has that kind of longevity. I do think it's funny. I think it's funny when it rips off other things, but I just don't see it having that long-running nature. And there's nothing in the magazine that has continued from 2019 through 2020. Nothing, no gag manga made it all the way through. And so I'm left with a feeling in the gag manga, category of feeling like there's nothing in the magazine right now that could push it all the way. That could become this staple gag manga for the magazine. I don't see anything running right now that could do that. And there's coming out of 2020, there wasn't anything already there. So again, the state of gag manga definitely needs some help. Like I said, I could absolutely be wrong about one of these gag mangas. One of these ones that started recently could surprise me. Maybe Sakamoto Days or something like that could surprise me and go way longer. But as it sits right now, the gag manga department I don't think is going to have much longevity in 2021 as we go forward. Like I said, I think Mitama was its best bet, and Mitama's gone. So that's kind of what I have on the comedy manga front. So now we're going to get to what is definitely the most confusing category on my list, which is what I'm just going to call Other. So as I said kind of in my intro, Other is manga that either don't fit any category, I can't kind of fit them into any of the other three, or they're a combination of two of the three categories, or maybe all three of the categories, and I don't know how to resonate that. So going forward, if you in the comment section, let me know if you're like, hey, that's definitely a gag manga or definitely a battle manga. You should have categorized it with the others. That's fine to let me know, but at the same time, hey, this is my review of 2020, so I'm going to do what I want. But so as far as Other in this, the ones that I've put in this category, we have had several ends. So ending this year, we have Time Paradox Ghostwriter, Dr. Stone Reboot Byakuya, Act Age, We Never Learn, and The Promised Neverland. So there's some big names in there, and there's a lot that I have to say specifically about several of them. But I've read actually all of them except We Never Learn. I didn't read that, and if you've been riding with me for a while now, you know that I've never read We Never Learn, and I probably won't. But as for the rest of them, I've read all of them. I have a lot to say about Act Age, but I think I'm going to save that for my review video of Act Age and not get into it here. Obviously, if you guys don't know, the author of that manga was arrested and convicted for assaulting a young girl. So that's absolutely horrible and definitely does not deserve to be writing for Shonen Jump, no matter how good he was. So, but like I said, I'm kind of putting Act Age to the side. We'll get to that in another video, I'm sure. But so the two out of that category that I want to highlight, though, are first Time Paradox Ghostwriter. I do have a Return to Sender video on Time Paradox Ghostwriter. Definitely go and check that out. But this was a manga that I thought had immense potential. I really liked it. I thought it was super cool. And it ended. And again, watch my Return to Sender video to find out, my thoughts on maybe why it ended. But its end, I think, signaled something, a trend in Shonen Jump that kind of steered away from these more, we'll say, different manga. These manga that don't necessarily fit in other categories. This is one of the ones that I'm like, I don't think it fits into any pre-established category other than maybe like slice of life, maybe, I don't know. But it was a good manga. I think it was only 14 chapters, so it was very short, but I thought it was a good manga, and I thought its cancellation signaled that Shonen Jump wasn't looking for kind of more out there ideas as it used to be. Obviously, for a while, we see, with the things that have ended, but I definitely don't think, so that's kind of my thought about that. But moving on, I want to also highlight The Promised Neverland, and I feel like I'd be doing a disservice in this video if I didn't. So in 2020, The Promised Neverland ended. The Promised Neverland being a big flagship for Weekly Shonen Jump during its run. If you guys don't know, the Pillar 4 podcast is currently going through The Promised Neverland. We do, reviews on an arc just about every week, so definitely check that out if you haven't. But I'm a huge fan of The Promised Neverland, and I thought its ending was really good. I definitely thought, it was a good manga. It had a lot of the real keys to to success of being a very different manga that could really, really work in the magazine. And so, I like that a lot, and its end, while definitely fair and timely, signaled the end of this more abstract era of Weekly Shonen Jump, I think. And I think it really signaled a transition away from these more outlandish stories, which is kind of what I said about Time Paradox Ghost Rider as well, that the magazine seems to be steering away from them instead of toward them. And that brings us to the new manga that have started in this category that I think show promise. But first of all of the new ones that have started, we have Mashal Magic and Muscles has started, Time Paradox Ghost Rider started, Ayakashi Triangle, Megachan, God of Destruction, Hardboiled Cop and Dolphin, as well as Build King are all the ones that I would put in this category that have started in 2020. Obviously, Time Paradox Ghost Rider has already ended, but all the other ones are still running. So the two I want to highlight, though, are first, I want to highlight Megachan. Now, I really like this manga, and not because of its comedy. It is funny at times, but mostly because of its heartwarming nature. I really like Magu-chan. I like how heartwarming it is, how, tender it can be, and this view of, like, friendship, even with this being that's so much different than Ruru, the main character. I really like all of these aspects of Magu-chan. And so, I hope that this manga continues. I hope that this is bolstered, that it becomes a big manga in the series. I don't think anything else needs to compete with Megachan trying to get into this sentimental category. I think that if we have one, that'd be great, and I really hope that Megachan is the one that takes this big role to be in the magazine going forward, to be this heartwarming story that every week you can come and it's something good, makes you feel good. I really like that. I think that it brings that to the magazine that most other manga in this magazine are not doing right now. So I like that. I think that it should continue. And the second one I want to highlight is Hardboiled Cop and Dolphin. Now, if you listen to my weekly newsletters, this should not surprise you at all that I think Hardboiled Cop and Dolphin is promising. First of all, this comes from a mangaka who has already done a very large weekly Shonen Jump series in the past, that being Beelzebub, which I've also read, and someday I might do a whole package review on that series. But this manga is super interesting. I think the premise is really interesting. Obviously, with these ocean gang things can kind of be confusing in the beginning of the manga, but as the manga goes on, kind of fleshes itself out and makes its own little power system, and I think that that's cool. And it's got some good, decent comedy. I think that the comedy can be good at times, and I think that this manga is a better mix of the battle and comedy than Beelzebub was. So I have a lot of high hope for this manga going forward. I really hope that this does become a staple manga and run for, a similar length as Beelzebub, maybe, 150 to 200 chapters I think we can get out of this manga. And I think that it's going in that direction. It seems to be successful, and I hope that the magazine continues in that vein and continues seeing this manga as successful, because I think it has a lot of promise for the magazine. And that will bring us to what has continued through 2020. And there's only one manga that has done that this year, and that is Dr. Stone. Dr. Stone came into 2020 and came out of 2020 still going strong. Dr. Stone is a very interesting manga. I don't highlight it very much in my weekly reviews, but I think it is an extremely important manga for Weekly Shonen Jump, as it's the last the last attempt to hold on to these series that are vastly different than the traditional, battle, comedy, or sports manga that the magazine normally sees. There are periodic, fights, combat sequences in Dr. Stone, but they're not the point. The point is the scientific discovery, the invention of new things, and that's really cool, and I think it's really interesting how informative Dr. Stone is, for real life. I definitely, there's a lot of research that goes into writing this manga, and I can tell that by the way that it's written. And the artwork, Boichi is an amazing artist. This artwork is absolutely phenomenal every single week. And so, I think Dr. Stone represents a good holding on point for this other category of manga in Weekly Shonen Jump. And I think that as long as Dr. Stone takes his place as one of the flagships of the magazine, which I think it is right now, I think we're likely to see more of these kind of in the middle, new idea manga pop up in the magazine. That's at least my hope going forward. So, that's pretty much all I got for the other category. As a whole, I think that, again, as long as Dr. Stone holds, we're looking good for the other category, and I expect more manga like that to pop up in Weekly Shonen Jump. But all that being said, these three categories are nothing compared to the absolute juggernaut in Weekly Shonen Jump that is Shonen Battle Manga. This is by far my favorite genre, running, in Shonen Jump. So I grew up on Shonen Battle Manga, Dragon Ball Z, Naruto. This is the stuff that got me into reading manga in the beginning, and it's the stuff that I still really, really like to read now. So let's just get into the battle manga that have gone on. So first, I want to talk about what has ended. So all of the battle manga that have ended are Our Blood Oath, Bone Collection, Guardian of the Witch, Zip Man, Tokyo Shinobi Squad, Samurai 8, The Tale of Hachimaru, Chainsaw Man, and Demon Slayer. And while I could spend a lot of time talking about many of those series specifically, I believe that I need to do a Tokyo Shinobi Squad Return to Sender. Probably a Samurai 8 I'll do at some point, and all of that. I do have a Guardian of the Witch video up and an Our Blood Oath video up if you want to go check those out. But while I could talk about a lot of these, I think that two of these series must be talked about above the others. And the first of those is Chainsaw Man. Chainsaw Man ended so abruptly that it really took me by surprise. At just 96 chapters, this manga that was extremely successful, both in Japan and in the West, just ended. Now, I say ended, but they are saying that a part 2 to Chainsaw Man, I'm not sure what it's going to be called, will come out on Shonen Jump Plus, but that won't be coming out in the magazine. It won't be running in Weekly Shonen Jump anymore. Now, while I do think that that's a good idea, because the content of Chainsaw Man at times got to be probably a little much for the audience of Weekly Shonen Jump, I think. But at the same time, it was an amazing manga. It was a very deep manga, and I definitely respect the crap out of Chainsaw Man for all of the kind of innovative things that it did in Weekly Shonen Jump. And its ending was so abrupt that it really, really shocked me. For sure. And the other, obviously, juggernaut that has ended is Demon Slayer. I'm sure I don't need to tell you that Demon Slayer sales this year have been insane. By far the most sold manga running, that has run in Weekly Shonen Jump this year. So, but it ended this year. It's over. Demon Slayer is over. It ended in 2020, and it's done. There's no plans on doing any spin-off series or anything like that. It's just over. Now, while I do think that this was a good series, I'm sure I'll do a whole package review on Demon Slayer. I really enjoy the series. I think it's great. If you haven't read it, definitely do that. But I think that its end left a vacuum hole for other series to try and fill, which is this, monster fighter kind of feeling, school kids fighting monsters. It's always been a big thing in Weekly Shonen Jump, but I think with the success of Demon Slayer, it's going to draw other mangaka who want to kind of do a similar thing to Demon Slayer and kind of be successful off of its back like that are going to come, and I don't think that that's good for the magazine as a whole. I think that as far as battle manga is concerned, let's get creative. Let's go different areas, different avenues. Let's not go with the same, superpowered kids fighting monsters all the time. I think let's mix it up. Not to say that I don't like some of the manga that are doing that this year, but I think that we're just going to get more and more of these, kind of typical monster-related shows. But Demon Slayer was amazing. Its ending was really good. I definitely encourage you to read it, and its end in the magazine definitely signals a transition away, or a transition, I think, rather, to series that are very similar to it. And Shonen Jump taking chances on those, because this one obviously worked. This has become a huge cash cow for the magazine. But yeah, so what's new? What new manga have started? New battle manga have started in Weekly Shonen Jump. The new ones that have started are Zip Man, Undead Unluck, Guardian of the Witch, Bone Collection, Burn the Witch, Phantom Seer, and Our Blood Oath. Obviously, some of those I have said have ended as well. Bone Collection, Our Blood Oath, the Zip Man. These are ones that have ended. Guardian of the Witch even. So most of those have actually not made it out of 2020, that they started in 2020. However, some of them did, and I want to talk about two of them. So the first one is Undead Unluck. Out of this list of new action shonen, I think that if one is going to emerge as a long-running shonen battle series, it's going to be Undead Unluck. At first, and if you just read the beginning of this manga, you're not going to understand why I'm saying that, because it definitely, when it started, I was not a fan of Undead Unluck, but I've grown to really love it. So, Undead Unluck definitely has the makings. It's got a good, solid, and interesting and unique power system. Its story is there. This current arc I'm not as fond of as I have been of some of the past arcs, but I think that as long as it keeps going, as long as it doesn't get canceled, Undead Unluck has the potential to be a mainstay shonen battle manga going forward, to really hold the magazine up in the place of some of these bigger ones that might end up falling away. Obviously, Demon Slayer and Chainsaw Man have already fallen away. So, you know, obviously that's huge, but I think that Undead Unluck is definitely gets my vote as who's going to take over for some of these ones that have led. I think it's Undead Unluck. And the second one that's new, that just started, is Burn the Witch. So Tite Kubo, the author of Bleach, has started Burn the Witch, and now it's on like some kind of hiatus. They say it's going to come back, but I think that's very interesting, and I hope that it does come back. I found Burn the Witch very promising, and I love Kubo. I think that, you know, I love Bleach. If he comes back and does another series, I think it will be successful. But as far as it goes right now, it's kind of just in the middle. So we've yet to see what Burn the Witch really has to offer. I do like the first 4 chapters. They are very good, but we've got to see till later. But I wanted to highlight it here just because it is new and it is promising in this category. And so that brings us to what manga have continued in the magazine, and we do have several that have kept going. By far the most in this category. So we have obviously One Piece, technically Hunter x Hunter, although I don't believe it's produced a single chapter in 2020. My Hero Academia, Black Clover, Jujutsu Kaisen, and Mission Yozakura Family. All of which I think are very interesting, but 2 of which I want to talk about. This year, I think My Hero Academia has made a huge shift, and there's been rumors that Horikoshi is actually thinking of ending it, and I really hope he's not serious about those rumors, but if he is, I do see the signs on the wall. The world of My Hero Academia has changed vastly in these last couple months even, and so I think 2020 was a huge year for My Hero Academia, and this whole battle scene that we've done for a lot of the year has really changed the landscape of this manga, and it could end shortly. I do believe that that's a possibility. I hope that it's not, but I believe it's a possibility. And if it does end, this is definitely signaling a rough patch for battle manga in Shonen Jump, because I'm not sure that there's enough to really replace My Hero Academia right now. And the other one I want to talk about is Jujutsu Kaisen. Almost the opposite of My Hero Academia. I think Jujutsu Kaisen this year has stabilized, has like really used a battle scene to really begin its major plot. I think that with Gojo out of the way, we are going to see some amazing things in this manga going forward. There's a lot of pieces that have been set up in this manga, so I'm super excited to see where this goes, where, you know, Jujutsu Kaisen goes in the future. I think it will be very good and able to really pick up the slack for some of these ones that have stopped. I think that this is going to be the manga that takes the place of Demon Slayer. I think Jujutsu Kaisen has the ability to do that. Maybe not as successful as that, but definitely has that kind of ability. So, kind of like summing it up, I think that the state of sports manga, not looking good. Just non-existent, honestly, at this point. Comedy is going to, I think, eventually be okay, but I don't see any big players in it right now. The other category will be okay as long as Dr. Stone survives, and battle manga always is going to be okay. It's the main manga in Weekly Shonen Jump, but I think Jujutsu Kaisen will end up taking the place of some bigger ones, and I think it desperately needs My Hero Academia to stay as well. But overall, guys, I'm never going to be pessimistic about Weekly Shonen Jump. I've read manga from this magazine my entire life. I'm always confident that Weekly Shonen Jump is going to find new manga to put in its pages that is interesting and that holds my attention. So that's honestly why I started this YouTube channel. I read everything in the magazine every week, and I really wanted to share that with you guys. So I'm always optimistic. I think that for sure we're going to be able to find new things, and I think that already 2021 has presented us with some very, very interesting manga that, you know, that we've already had the chance to see and look at. So I'm super optimistic for this year coming up, and super happy that I got to do this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you liked anything I had to say, like this video, definitely comment. Tell me what you think about the state of the magazine, what you think about certain things that ended or began or, you know, continued throughout the year. Definitely let me know your thoughts. I'd love to interact with them in the comment section down below, and subscribe to my channel. I bring you weekly newsletters about Weekly Shonen Jump every single week, along with, you know, some kind of midweek video every week, like this video. Usually it's reviews of different manga series, but this week I decided to branch out. Thanks guys so much for watching this video. Like I said, like and subscribe and comment. But till next time, this is Shonen Express signing off.